This is the Discovery Optics HD MPVO, and this is an OSIght X multi-reticle reflex. One is a sight designed for mid to long-range shooting, and the other one is designed for pistol distances. But combined together, do they make the optimum sighting system? Let's find out. First, let's talk about the Discovery Optics 2-12 Power HD. In my testing, I found this to be a lightweight, feature-rich, and surprisingly sharp scope for an MPVO with a street price under $200. You can watch the full review on my channel, and I'll include a link in the video description. And we're pairing this with an OSIght X, which is a multi-reticle pistol reflex sight that is unique because its cover is also a wireless recharger. And you'll also find a link in the video description to my full-length review of the OSIght X rechargeable reflex sight. What I found when testing the HD MPVO is that it performed very much like a traditional magnified optic, providing a clear image of long-range targets in a much more compact tactical package. But most traditional magnified scopes have a hard time sharply focusing on objects less than 50 yards away and have a much narrower field of view, which can be a detriment in CQB. And that's where having a backup sight, in this case a reflex sight, addresses those issues. So that's what I did. I mounted an OSIght X on top of the Discovery Optics HD using a Picatinny scope tube adapter. This allowed me access to adjust the turrets and was high enough so not to be obscured by them. I wanted to give this a practical test, so I took it to the monthly Coyote Point Rifle and Pistol Club Falling Plates match. I've competed in this match before with a Discovery Optics LPVO, and I wanted to see if this new combo setup worked better. We'll get started in a second, but for now, a brief word about our sponsor. Before we get started with the test, I'd just like to take a quick break here to talk about this episode's sponsor, Aura. For the cost of just a VPN, I'm getting a whole suite of security services, including $1 million in identity theft insurance, and they're even removing me from those damn data broker listings. Use my link, aura.com/moondog, and you can try them for 14 days, free. And if you use that link, you're helping to support this channel. You know, identity fraud is a real thing, and with AI, it's all too easy to spoof your identity. That's why you should try out Aura. Alright, let's get back to the tests. So I had an initial test to confirm zero on this, and one of the things that I did have to get used to is how high above bore, or how high above the stock I need to be to see that piggyback, which of course makes sense because it's so much higher. And at this point, I get interrupted by a couple of playful catcalls from the RSOs who want to know if I'm done filming so that they can start the match. All right. This is how low I usually have to have my cheek weld for my scope, but to see the red dot, it's up here, which can be a positive thing from a combat standpoint. Yeah. Because they want you to have good situational awareness. A good field of view. So it's just a matter of getting used to having a head position this low.
And then go to the lower one now. The lower one, you're really tight.
Ready. Stand by.
The match consists of shooting down 6 steel plates, approximately 8 inches in diameter. Each shooter is allowed to load 6 rounds, so if you miss a shot, you miss a plate, you don't get that point. I missed that last one. We start at 30 yards, and at this distance, we get 10 seconds to complete our string. I've reloaded, and I'm getting ready to shoot my second string at this distance. And it doesn't look like it's going to be a good day for me. I usually do a clean sweep of the plates at this distance, and I've already missed 3 plates on this string and the one from the previous one, so yeah, I don't think I'm going to be placing in the top 3 this time around. Alright, it's my turn again after about a dozen other shooters took their shots, and we've moved back to 35 yards. I definitely rushed that first round at 30 yards, so I'm going to be a little more deliberate in my aiming. It does help, and I am using the red dot at these distances up until about 45 yards. But I'm still missing plates at what should be fairly easy distances for me, typically.
Ready?
Skipping ahead to a couple of rounds, we're now at 45 yards, and I'm still using the red dot, but I'm really struggling at this distance. The key benefit of a reflex sight in this kind of setup is an unobstructed peripheral view, but with falling plates directly in front of you that aren't shooting back, there really isn't any advantage to that. And that heads-up stance I was taking with the reflex sight doesn't afford me a cheek weld for stability that I need for this distance, so I'm going to switch over to the MPVO and get a more heads-down cheek weld position. I'm dialing down the magnification on the scope because even though those plates are pretty small at this distance, I really don't need more than 2.5 power, otherwise I'm going to introduce more jitteriness to my image. Missed another one. Yeah, it's definitely not my day. Shooting with the MPVO does help at this distance though. So, no, I did not do better with this piggyback OSIght X combo and the Discovery Optics MPVO. But before I get into that though, I just wanted to remind you to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and notification bell buttons right now before you forget. It just takes a second to press those buttons, and it's absolutely free, by the way. It doesn't cost anything to become a subscriber to this channel, so I appreciate you taking a moment to do that. And I want to thank OSIght for sending out the X for me to test with, as well as Discovery Optics for supplying their HD MPVO for me to test out. Great optic and great red dot, by the way. But in terms of whether it was better, I did not shoot better with this combination. What I found was that the OSIght, the shooting with a red dot, I just didn't have as steady of a hold on it because I wasn't using a cheek weld because it was so much higher, so I had to go heads up. Now, there is an advantage to that. My peripheral view of what was around me was so much better than looking through an LPVO. It's like night and day. So in a combat or a self-defense situation where you need good situational awareness, that heads up with with a red dot is much better than with an LPVO. But in terms of this use case where I'm timed for accuracy, I was not as accurate with it because I didn't have a tight cheek weld. And conversely, when I got up to about 40-45 yards, when I shifted over to the MPVO to get, because those 6-inch steel plates get quite small, and the dot is practically almost obscuring the plate, the illumination on the MPVO was not as bright as my LPVO. That said, at farther distances, I can see where the MPVO really would be heads and shoulders better because just the brightness and resolution on my MPVO is much better at 100 yards or further than my LPVO, even with the same magnification power. But let me know in the comments where you think an MPVO piggyback combo might be better than just a straight up LPVO. In terms of eye box, in terms of situational awareness and accuracy. This is a specific use case, obviously, but maybe you have some ideas where one would be better than the other. And if you do, please leave me a comment about that. And again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. God bless. Moondog out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.